On May 5th, 2024, a lot of people may be celebrating Cinco de Mayo, but there are some of us that will be celebrating or maybe honoring or respecting or considering that it is International Bereavement Mother Day. And this day is set aside for mothers whose children are no longer here, that their children are angels on the other side of eternity. And I am so grateful that this day comes before Mother's Day that we celebrate, because the yearning and the burning in the heart of women whose children are not here is so painful. For me, being a bereaved mother was my first experience with grief, and I didn't even have words for it. My late husband and I had been married about 3 years, and we decided to have children. And we were so excited. And I had been on the birth control pill for several years. I came off the pill and we became pregnant instantly. First month, no problem. Second month, no issues. The third month, no problems at all. And let me warn you for any triggering, if you want to stop listening to this video for any details that may make you uncomfortable. The fourth month was in June. I woke up and I had a little bit of spotting. And it really didn't concern me a lot because that was the same time in which my menstrual was scheduled for. But I did call our doctor and let them know what was going on. And they asked, was it an extreme amount of bleeding? I said, no, just a little bit of spotting. It was like, well, don't worry about it. You have an appointment coming up and we'll check you out then. And Mark had been with me to appointments we've had before. And this particular time, we just felt like he needed to be at work and I could do this appointment on my own. Didn't think it was a big deal. Went into the appointment. They did an internal ultrasound and the technician was not behaving normally. They were in and out of the room. They were scurrying back and forth. And then somebody else came in and they took another ultrasound and they told me that I had to wait for the doctor to come in. And I remember literally grabbing them by the wrist and saying, what is going on? This is not what happens on my normal appointments. I need someone to talk to me. And she said she couldn't. And I started to cry. And I was just so anxious. And the physician eventually came in and said that the baby was gone. And this was actually Mark's birthday. And they told me that I had to have a DNC procedure and other different things if I didn't begin to everything removed from my body organically. I remember sitting in the car, devastating, crying, and calling Mark and letting him know what happened, and not even sure if I could even drive myself home. I remember days after that having the DNC procedure. I remember feeling like life was not the same anymore. It seemed like things that I hoped for were not obtainable. I remember showing up at friends' home just bizarrely. I didn't have a reason. I was just there and didn't know what to say, didn't know how to articulate it. I didn't know that grief brain was a thing. I didn't know that my prefrontal cortex was not operating normally. I did not know that my amygdala fight and flight mode was on hyperdrive. I just knew I felt off. I remember changing the license plate for one of my vehicles and just sitting in the yard, digging in the dirt for hours on end, just in a daze. And just thinking, how did this happen to us? What did we do to deserve this? And I came to the conclusion eventually it wasn't something that was done to us. It was part of life. It is a difficult part of life. I thought about how maybe if we were using protection after I stopped taking the birth control pill, but I also thought that there was probably something wrong with the baby, and for them to live in this world would have been too difficult. But that hurt and that pain, going back to work after telling so many people we were having a child, to have to call family and friends and tell them that the baby didn't make it. I felt like something was wrong with me. I felt like I was broken because I wasn't able to bring that child into the world. I felt like maybe something was wrong with Mark and I, that we didn't deserve to have children. And that wrestling back and forth of those thoughts were something I had to deal with so often. And I know some of my sisters that this is a pain that you struggle with every day. You yearn, and we yearn to know what those children would have been like in their life, how they would have shown up, how life in this world would have greeted them, what would they have become. And it seems so out of order for our children not to be here, and we continue to live life. And sometimes, for me, that was over 40 years ago. And yet there are so many details of that I can remember vividly. For my sisters who have lost children, that have lived longer, that left this world for so many unfortunate reasons, I am sorry. You are not alone. There are so many women that show up in life smiling, and their hearts are torn apart. And we have taught to bravely move on, keep a stiff upper chin, show up and smile. But I tell you, you have the right to pause. You have the right to feel how you feel and not pretend about your emotions. Yes, you may have learned to keep living. You may have learned to keep existing. But give yourself grace. Give yourself moments to pause. And the anticipation of Mother's Day may often be harder than the day itself, but do something kind for you. Make yourself something healthy to eat. Go for a walk. Read a book. Share your experience with me or other people that you know generally want to know how you are feeling. Your hurt, your pain, your loss matters. Grief has no timeline. Yes, you may hold it differently than you did before, but that loss still impacts you. And I care. And there are others that will comment on this video that care with you. And I want you to know our arms are around you. We are hugging you. We are loving you. And I am supporting you. That this journey of grief, we are doing this together. And that community of love will empower you and is embracing you to continue loving, to continue living, continue being you.